Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to NL Hafta. I'm Abhinandan Sekhri. Today we have a guest joining us from Bangalore. But before I introduce the guest, I would just like to urge you to check out newslaundry.com for those of you who are listening to us on Stitcher or Spotify or SoundCloud. This is not just a podcast, we have a website. You can subscribe and help us cover the election on our NL Sena page. Go to newslaundry.com, subscribe, support us, because when the public pays, the public is served, and when advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Support independent media. Today in the headlines, we have... Actually, before the headlines, let me just introduce the panel. We have our in-house gang of Raman Kirpal.
Hello.
Anand, Vardhan.
Hello.
And Manisha, Pande.
Hello.
Joining us from the News Minute over the phone line is Ragamalika Karthikeyan. Ragamalika, or as we shall call her Raga, is the deputy editor of the News Minute, one of the most successful and very dynamic news websites. They've done some fantastic work. She's worked with Times Now in the past, NDTV Hindu, Deccan Chronicle. She's basically been across the spectrum. And she was the program officer for the Gender Violence Research and Information Task Force at Prajna, a think tank in Chennai. Thank you for joining us, Raga.
Hi.
So, Manisha, can you tell us what all happened in the country, and we shall discuss some of it during this podcast?
Yeah, the big story for today as we record this podcast is that for the fourth time, China has blocked India's bid to designate Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist in the UN Security Council. That's come as a big blow. Chandrashekhar Azad of the Bhim army says that he'll be fighting Modi from the Varanasi seat, and he met Priyanka Gandhi and he told her so apparently. There's the Pollachi sexual abuse and extortion case, a really shocking case with some links to the governing AIADMK that Raga, I'm sure, will tell us about. There was a big scoop by Sunetra of NDTV where she said that she reported that the UK has constantly been asking India to help them extradite Nirav Modi, but there's been no response from India, and they stopped pursuing it after multiple letters and,
But no other media picked up this story.
Yeah, it didn't really do much. And Nirav Modi was also spotted on London Street wearing a ostrich leather jacket. I didn't know that ostrich leather exists before this, but yeah. And Anand Kumar Hegde, who's known for making all sorts of insane comments, was again in news for saying that Rahul Gandhi is a Pardesi and his DNA needs to be checked, and he's born to a Muslim and a Christian. Stuff that you see routinely on WhatsApp. Lok Sabha polls, the date for the Lok Sabha polls was announced. It's going to begin on April 11th and the counting will be on May 23rd, and it will be held in 7 phases. After this, there was a slight controversy by Trinamool when Trinamool Congress claimed that 7-phase polling will occur during Ramzan and it will cause inconvenience to Muslims. A lot of people also said that this is crap, like Javed Akhtar and all said that this is nonsense and this, you can't bring in Ramzan into this. And the EC has said that all political ads on social media will need prior certification. The ECI in fact has said that a lot of things that on social media that will be put out by parties will come under the moral code, and I wonder how they're going to do that.
I think the EC often says stuff that it can't really do. I mean, I honestly see sometimes they just make a mockery really of themselves. Then a Lok Sabha election in 2019 and BJP says there should be curbs on fake news. I was like, okay, that's irony, just sent a WhatsApp message to itself. The silent period extension is something that they're against. What is the silent period, Manisha?
Basically 2 days before the polling, you can't campaign.
Oh, I thought you had to go on Monvrat.
Basically Monvrat of political party, which no one ever follows.
BJD takes the first step to give 33% Lok Sabha tickets to women. I think Naveen ji ne jaldi mein announce kar diya. Pata nahi denge ki nahi, let's see. Then the big international news, Ethiopian plane crash. 4 Indians were killed among 157. But what this air crash has led to is the grounding of the entire fleet. Or what's the model called again? That model is 737. And in fact, US has banned 2 models from the same kind of family of models. So that, in fact, SpiceJet today cancelled 30 odd flights. So I don't know what that's going to be. 737 Max, that's right, that's what it's called. Then two very important media-related stories. The Shillong Times editor was held guilty of contempt of court by a judge. We shall discuss this at length. I think it is deeply worrying. And the second is, of course, Indian Express, put its support firmly behind the Shillong Times. And in Assam, newspapers are boycotting state government news ads because of apathy. They say newsprint costs have gone up, distribution costs have gone up, transport costs have gone up, but ad rates haven't been revised since 2014. I'm like, don't take ads. Because when the public pays, the public is served, and ad rates served. Anyway, I just think it's just so flawed, the news world right now. And then J&K draft of return policy for militant 6,000 rupees stipend and jobs. Let's see how that works. Has been tried before. And again, Kashmir papers also run blank pages because they're saying there's a bit to scuttle the media because the government has stopped giving ads to two of the local Kashmiri papers. And the Supreme Court rules in favor of mediation in Ayodhya land dispute case. I'd like to discuss. Did we discuss this last week?
No.
No. Okay, so we might discuss this.
Sri found his way on the panel.
So let's start off with Chennai. So Raga, you could just tell our listeners a little bit of the details of the case, why it is so important and what has caused it to actually get noticed, because we've heard this complaint several times in the past that some, horrible stuff happens in Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or Kerala, but it doesn't find itself in the national news. The only time Kerala found itself regularly in the national news was the RSS versus the communists bloodbath. So tell us about this case, what it has led to and why it's become so big.
Okay. So just briefly about the case, it came to light towards the end of February, around 26th of February. Basically what had happened was on the 12th of February, this woman who has now filed a complaint. She met up with a couple of her acquaintances because they claimed that they wanted to speak to her about something important. And these men decided to bring in two other men into the car. And they sexually abused her, they disturbed her, and took a video of this act. And when she started screaming, they basically threatened that they will upload this video or they will distribute it through WhatsApp. And unless she stays quiet and gives them sexual favors whenever they ask her for it, and also money and other valuables whenever they ask her for it. So this is an extortion racket very clearly. And she was in the car and she started making noise, and there were other people on the road. And therefore, they just snatched a gold chain that she was wearing and they dropped her off in the middle of the road. So this happened on the 12th of February. And this girl obviously didn't tell her parents immediately after that. She didn't tell her family immediately after that. She's a 19-year-old girl. And
these were college mates of hers? These were college mates of hers? They were her neighborhood mates?
No, they're not college mates. They're acquaintances. So there are four men who are the main accused in this case. This one guy is called Sabari Rajan, alias Rishwant. And he is the one who, in this larger case of extortion and sexual abuse, usually seems to be the one who is luring the women. And his accomplices are a guy called Nirav Modi, who is a small-town financier in Pollachi, and two others called Satish and Vasant Kumar. Satish owns a garment store in Pollachi, and Vasant Kumar works for Nirav Modi.
Right.
So these four guys seem to be doing this as a racket. And this girl told her parents about this later. And her brother and his friends apparently tracked down these men. And that's how this came to light. They tracked down these men and they trashed them and they snatched their phones and gave the phones. And it's when they found the phones that they realized that the phones had other videos of other women that they had
So this
shot,
was basically something they were doing as routinely, that, strip a woman, take a video and then blackmail her.
We don't know how routinely. We don't know. I mean, there are media reports, of course, saying, and social media reports, and of course, Tamil magazine Nakiran has said 200 cases or 60 cases or something. We have no such confirmation in such numbers so far. What we know from the lawyer and police sources is that there are at least 4 or 5 videos of other women, and they seem to have been doing this for a while.
So this is become big because it is AIADMK is trying to hush it up. Is that why it's blown up and backfired, or?
See, I don't know if AIADMK is trying to hush it up, because the case was filed. There were 2 cases. One was the case of sexual abuse and robbery of the girl. This was filed on the FIR was filed on the 24th. And on 25th, another FIR was filed because on 25th morning, the girl's brother was beaten up allegedly by friends of one of the accused, who said, if something happens to him, then we'll not leave you alive. So that is the second FIR. And in that case, in the second case of assault of the brother, is where one of the men against whom an FIR is filed is an AIADMK functionary. His name is Nagaraj.
I see.
So he's an AIADMK functionary.
Manisha, your view on the judge's feedback or his observation that why is the Delhi media not taking it up?
Yeah, the Madras High Court said that the Delhi-based media has not taken up, and it's completely true. We haven't seen this anywhere. Compare this to anything that happens in UP, or when you had that Muzaffarpur case where you had these girls abused in a home.
It was an orphanage.
It went, everyone was discussing it, and this has completely been ignored. It's true. In fact, the only thing, even on social media, the only regular updates that I'm seeing are from News Minute. They had an explainer on it, and Dhanya has been writing about it, tweeting about it. But other than that, I haven't seen it anywhere in the Delhi-based media. And it's actually quite, it seems like quite a large-scale sort of an extortion racket, because when they busted this guy, they found 3 other videos of 3 other women that they were probably blackmailing. So it seems like a well-organized sort of a racket.
Let's come to Sunetra's story. Sunetra Chaudhary of NDTV did a report that spoke about how Nirav Modi's extradition, the UK authorities have been trying to get Indian authority to respond with paperwork. We are sitting on our ass and not wanting him back.
But
what was
ED has denied it completely.
ED has denied it in a very roundabout way.
No,
they haven't mentioned the story. I've read the ED denial. No. They haven't mentioned the specific story.
No. They have mentioned I tell you, I think if you see ED, CBI, all these organizations, they rarely issue a denial. Okay, because they want this whatever narrative that the media, weaves. They just go with it unless there is something major, factual contradiction, and it is hurting their interest. So in this particular case, Sunetra Chaudhary's report is very clearly saying that in March, the UK, sounded authorities. They sounded the Indian authorities, the ED, and they never
got back to
sought extradition. Now ED has a document, sending it. They sent one, that red corner notice for the RCN. They sent it in June to UK. UK said, first you tell us whether he is in UK or not. Now, how would you deny that? That's something that ED has given in June. And she is saying, her story is saying, see, I'm not saying that her story is wrong. What I am trying to say that such stories are very difficult we get all kind of information.
So there is no way you can...
But her story does say that after UK confirmed that he's in London, they said, we want this paperwork out of you. So they didn't respond to the paperwork, but there was an initial thing of them saying that we want...
No, see the dates you see, that is the...
Yeah, problem. I don't think we'll be surprised, but the point I was making was a story like this, it's a big story. Nirav Modi is a political issue. In fact, Rahul Gandhi's interaction in Chennai thana with the schoolgirls or college girls.
College girls.
He brought up Nirav Modi again and again. It's whether he said Masood Azhar G and all becomes, every channel takes it up. Everyone takes it. Something like this, and like Raman sir, you only said, it's not a black and white story. ED ये बोल रहा है, वो बोल रहा है, उन्होंने बोला था, हमने बोला था, ले जाओ उसको, तुम बोल रहे हो, हमें नहीं चाहिए. But it is big enough for it to, be taken up across media. But it hasn't. NDTV did one report and that's the end of the story. Whereas its importance is way more than other stories. So I don't know if it affects voting patterns, but it definitely affects information that may help.
Of course, and more informed citizenry.
I think its effect depends on which section of voters we are talking about. And there is one very committed to vote in someone's favor. There is one which is very hell-bent against it. But the floating voters, the floating vote, this kind of not a particular story, but the kind of effect created by a series of such stories may affect the floating voters, who are not very decided about where they stand in their voting preferences. So that may now coming to this particular, yes, see, again, there are people who would go by NDTV story, there are people who would go by enforcement director's version and directorate version, also depending on the kind of political inclination they have. but the chinks in the story, maybe also the chinks in the source that she had, because this is not a story of lot of hard work. It is an excess story.
Completely a source-based story.
A source-based story. If the source was wrong, she will get wrong. That's what it is.
So I won't spend too much time on this, but in Shillong Times, the editor was held guilty of contempt of court by the judge. You want to tell us something about this, and then we'll quickly comment on this and move on?
Yeah, so Patricia Mukhim, the editor of Shillong Times, and her publisher were penalized they have to pay rupees 2 lakh of fine within a week, or they'll be jailed for 6 months and their paper will be banned. This is because they did a piece. So this judge, before retiring, came up with a bunch of things, came up with a judgment that said that there should be a bunch of facilities given to retired judges, like medical facilities for spouse and children, and the order also stressed for providing protocol, guest houses, domestic help, mobile internet charge at the rate of 10,000 and mobile for rupees 80,000 for judges. So he gave all these lovely, and he happened to also be retiring. So they wrote a piece when judges judge for themselves, and the judge took great umbrage to it and said that this is contempt and how dare you write
but
about it.
But this judge hadn't retired yet.
No, hadn't.
So
but was about to.
So just before retiring, not only did he give that judgment, he also said, "Acha, if you talk about it, I'll put you in jail."
It's a perfect story.
And I think this is shocking. I think that's one part which really needs to be.
And then again, he made them to sit in the corner. And what do you know about that same expert, non-expert thing? What do you know about legal stuff to write this piece? And yeah, it's pretty. But courts are terrible. We still have that thing called scandalizing the court, which exists in India, which you can get hauled up for just shocking the court, basically.
You saying something, Anand?
No, there is also an angle of, see, in lower courts, they have this, that they will never go up to High Court or Supreme Court. But they have a lot of importance, so ego massage thing. You know, in district towns what happens, that no one knows a lower court judge except the district judge. So when a police case comes up, a judge is very happy that the superintendent of police will come and salute him. An IPS officer will salute him, because he stands nowhere in front of an IPS officer in the district. No one didn't know the judge, but this ego massage thing, that I have what is in India called nuisance value. I have this power to create nuisance. So
passport office is the perfect place.
Yes. So I have this small joy of creating nuisance, and he didn't let that opportunity go. So that is it.
Okay. I've also felt this, just to digress, in every office also, like the people in charge of giving tea have this big nuisance value thing also. I've always suffered because of that.
People in charge of giving tea?
Yeah, like pantry people or whatever. They'll always like hold your, like, no, wait for 15-20 minutes. I'll give you tea, but after half an hour.
Like that? Okay.
Subtle complaint.
Subtle complaint. Okay. No, I've never faced it.
But in every office, because you're the boss, you're the CEO.
Can I be like Tavleen? I've never faced it.
I've also said this also.
never attacked me.
Then I've also often used your name to get tea.
Chalo, mera naam beta.
I'm sitting with Abhinandan. Meko chai le aana hai.
So the elections have been announced. 7 phases. Lots of election-related headlines were all over the place. The one I want to talk about specifically is Chandrashekhar saying he'll fight Modi from Banaras. Chandrashekhar is this Dalit leader who Mayawati doesn't like because she feels that he'll take away the Dalit narrative from her.
वो तो बुआ करता रहता है. She keeps snubbing him. He's like, मैं बुआ.
So because she has more to lose, he has more to gain, right?
Yeah.
She's the big daddy right now, and he's this small fry. So what do you think? Uski zabt ho jayegi zamanat, or you think he'll make a dent?
Very difficult to say. I mean, last time I think Kejriwal had contested, but he got
very
impressive show.
Votes,
he got around 3 lakh.
No, I think just under 3.
He lost by 3.
But he lost.
But he got
terribly.
about 2 lakh something votes.
But he didn't lose his deposit.
What I am saying, he lost by 3 lakhs something.
But he got about 2 lakhs. I mean, people thought that zamana zabt ho jayegi, lekin there were enough votes that came.
It's very difficult to say. I mean, you have to look at the caste equations over there. So he is presenting himself as Dalit. So and say if Priyanka is backing him, so I don't know which are the other castes who are going to.
I mean, I think a very interesting battle would be, but I don't think we are going to get that. If there is a consensus candidate against Modi, I think that would be a very interesting
No,
battle.
if
What do you mean a
Chandrasekhar
consensus
Of
candidate?
SP, BSP, Congress, everyone says,
Yes.
okay, we will just put one candidate against Modi. That would be a very interesting battle. Matlab, you'll get the numbers. दूध का दूध पानी का पानी.
no, I think
that'll happen.
I think it
वो
will
होगा
be,
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं होगा. लेकिन what I'm saying is it would be interesting.
नहीं अगर हो भी जाएगा तो non contestant ही है.
From Banaras?
Banaras.
Nice, sir. I don't think... Not by the numbers of last year. Last year, the numbers, if you calculate the numbers between AAP and all the BSP, SP, it would be bigger than what Modi got.
No, but when it becomes one candidate versus Modi, the things will become different. I think Modi is
Unbeatable in Banaras.
unstoppable.
Yes. Also, well, Banaras reflects now as a PM's constituency. To give credit to where it's due, he has done work. He has done work in Varanasi. Means, not he, but Prime Minister's office had seen that Prime Minister's constituency is looked after.
The ghats are a lot cleaner, I know that.
Really? I would really want to go and see.
But I mean,
They're cleaner.
when I'm saying cleaner, it doesn't mean that you expect like the river Volga there. It is cleaner than what it used to be.
Also, a lot of trains and this to Varanasi. Means, you see, there are Prime Minister's constituencies which are not looked after. They are, or even Chief Minister's constituencies. But his office, PMO, has made it a point that it looks like a PM's constituency.
मैं बनारस काफी घूमा हूँ तो बनारस is the ghat and there is about I think a dozen and a half villages, half an hour drive, 40-minute drive around Banaras. They come under the same Lok Sabha constituency. The ghat is completely Modi. You're right, he's unbeatable there. But you'd be surprised at how much they dislike him in the rural belt that surrounds Banaras, away from the ghat. So, and that is not like 10-15% of the vote. That is a significant percent of the vote. And so that's why I don't think it's a foregone conclusion a two-way battle would be. But
I'm very against these politicians parrot dropping in a constituency where they've never worked and then contest elections. Like Kejriwal went there, fought, and then you just forget the thing. And what about the people who voted for you? Yeah, they're not going to even be taken care of even as you've lost it. So I'm very against this just dropping in a place. He could have fought it from Saharanpur, from his own place. Why?
Also, people like the fact that Mr. Modi contested from Varanasi and Vadodara and he chose Varanasi
instead of Gujarat.
So that also has a value. That
so
I wouldn't vote for someone who just drops in from somewhere.
Anyway, meanwhile, the Election Commission says all political ads on social media will need prior certification. Okay, very good, Election Commission. I'd like to see how you monitor what's happening on WhatsApp. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a bit like the US congressional hearings when they were interviewing Zuckerberg. Some of those guys were fossils. So, let alone internet, I think when they were young, even television was not invented. Their questions to Zuckerberg were making us laugh. I think many of our Election Commission people, their understanding of technology is so primitive that they don't even understand what they're saying, what we can control and what we can't. I think they just talk through their ass.
Absolutely. Because today on my way to the office, on the radio, I was listening to all kind of ads of Swachh Bharat or,
that is the one thing of how the surrogate ads. I'm saying even WhatsApp, how can you control what? How are you going to say who's made that ad? अब मैं अपने लैपटॉप पे 4K कैमरा सैमसंग S9 जो भी होता है वो by the way they haven't sponsored this show I'm just saying because Karthik yesterday told me it has the best camera उससे शूट करके आप 40,000 के लैपटॉप में इनपुट करो एडिट करो पेल दो आप तो कौन बोलेगा किसने बनाया है
जो विजिबल है उसको तो रोको पहले मैं कह रहा हूं रेडियो पे आ रहा है विजिबल है उसको तो रोको
you check what's happening in the media check paid news check for like very visible flautations I was going to say flouting of rules that happen on the media.
Dekho. So in the famous case of who will get that land the Supreme Court has said there'll be a 3-member panel if Mr. Kalifullah who's a retired justice a judge Shri Ravi Shankar, who's practicing judge, and Shri Ram Panchu, who's a senior advocate.
Yeah, and he's also one of the pioneering conflict resolution guys. And he's written a book on conflict resolution. It's actually quite good. I read up only about the...
Well, even Shri has positioned himself as a great conflict resolver. He said he's the reason that in Colombia, the guys,
LTT.
not the Maoists.
LTT?
Colombia, not Colombo.
Oh. Sorry.
South LTT मैंने कहा वो liberal वहाँ कहाँ पहुँच गए
He's the reason that Yamuna got polluted.
He brought Colombia में
Colombia में ना those guys who are fighting against the government, the rebels.
Okay.
He says that they laid down their arms because there was some resolution that happened. Although there is a video of him with them and all. I don't know if he was the cause. But
I don't know.
So I just want. Why don't you start, Anand? What is your view of this way of resolving issues by the Supreme Court? Is it a good thing, bad thing, or they had no choice?
I think it's a time-buying tactic. I think this mediation route can also work only if there is back-channel mediation on a larger scale, because 3-member mediation group would resolve this issue. I am not very optimistic about it. But also depends on what's the post-May 2019 scene. If there is a lot of political will and backing of government which can take stakeholders on hold, then this may work and given a kind of an impression of an amicable solution. But what I foresee is that it will go back to the court. I am not very optimistic about this route. It's a time-buying tactic. Maybe see.
Yeah, even I agree. I think it's a time-buying tactic, and purposely they have picked someone like Shri Ravi Shankar, who Sanjay Pogalia wrote a piece in the Quint that he has first-hand witnessed this man's bigotry. When he was a very young reporter, he's related a case where they've a bunch of senior reporters and he met him, and this one said, "Arey Quran mein to aise likha hai wo, there is no moderate Muslim," much like some friends of ours who have said the same thing. There is no such thing, So I think they've purposely picked a man like him that no matter what resolution, even if Shri was to come with a very good resolution, there will always be doubt on this, and then they'll have to go back to court. So I think it is a very, in my view, very unbecoming. I want to use the word, I'm not using it, my lord, cowardly, but if I was someone who did not respect the court, which I'm not, I respect them and I would never use that word. But if I was like that Shillong Times person, I'd use that word. So have I covered myself? Like, am I?
Yeah.
We really don't know.
We'll find out.
Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free.
All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.